Well, yeah, great. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We will go ahead and get started. Today, Jordan Watt, our Chief Information Officer, will be presenting on downloadable data and overall security of ActionFlow. And with that, I will turn it over to Jordan.
Cool. Thanks, Josiah. I am sharing now. Is everyone seeing that screen? Good. Okay. Perfect. Well, yeah, good morning, everyone. As Josiah said, I'm Jordan Watts, the Chief Information Officer here at ActionFlow. This presentation here, the first half is going to be about this new offering that we've just rolled out called downloadable data.
Sorry, Jordan, I think I just muted you. Sorry.
There you go. Enabling our clients to basically access their essential data outside, external to that, of ActionFlow. So that'll be the first chunk of this, and then the second portion will be a review of just kind of the security of ActionFlow. We spent a few months kind of revisiting our security policies, our security infrastructure to make sure we are insulated and protected. Just kind of given the recent thing that happened with the ransomware attack on the industry, and we just want to make sure we want to be transparent about the steps that we took to kind of address that. So yeah, and then after the first section, you're more than welcome to leave if you don't want to review the security aspects. Cool. So we can get started. So the first thing is just there are, as you may have experienced, unfortunately, there are a multitude of reasons that can impact your ability to access ActionFlow and also access your information. Obviously, the big one that everyone is concerned about is the ransomware and the cyber attacks that happened. The impact of that was catastrophic, right? Fabricators were not able to access their data. They weren't able to get into their system. They were completely locked out of everything. They had no awareness or insight into any of the functions of their business. So that's kind of the big one there. Beyond that, there are weather impacts that I'm sure you've had, and power outages that can happen, which can inhibit your ability to access ActionFlow. It's a technology-driven world now, so you're very reliant upon Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi outages happen. Hardware crashes can happen, where it's just you break your laptop or something like that, you spill coffee on it. Microsoft failures, so our backend is completely driven by Microsoft, and we rely on Microsoft to run ActionFlow, but Microsoft is not insulated from failures. There are failures that happen there, and that impacts a lot of people, that impacts us, and then downstream that impacts you as well. There are location-based issues, so this is just, again, more cellular reception or Wi-Fi. And then obviously, we aren't perfect either. On the ActionFlow side, we can have issues with our deployments, and we can have issues, and you've experienced those connection issues. And all of these things can kind of impact your ability to access your information and also access ActionFlow. That's not a comprehensive list either, but there are just a lot of things. So the impact of that, obviously, we don't need to spend time here, but this is, you can lose contact information of your clients. You can miss client appointments, templating, and installations. You can lose the ability to track incoming inventory orders. You have no insight into the daily functions or daily performance of your shop. You can't schedule things, and in the case of this ransomware attack, there was just a complete stoppage, which means lost time and lost money. So given all those things, in response to those things, all of those external things, the weather things, the hardware, the Wi-Fi, and then in addition, in response to the ransomware attacks, we've rolled out this new feature that we're calling downloadable data. And this is basically an option for you all to access your essential data external to that of the ActionFlow platform. And we're hoping that by making that data available outside of ActionFlow, you wouldn't be able to maintain some operations, some daily operations of your business. By having that information, you may be able to actually salvage some jobs, salvage some installs, and it's kind of an insurance policy if technology were to be down for any of those reasons. So yeah, downloadable data. What does it consist of? So the first thing it consists of is a secure access to your data in an external application. So like I said, this is not through ActionFlow. This would be a completely separate application, and we use Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer. So you would have to download that. But essentially what it is, it's a file system in the cloud outside of ActionFlow that you would have a key. We call it a shared access signature, a token basically to get into only your file system and access your information in. So it is external data of ActionFlow. There's no dependencies on ActionFlow, and it's an external application. And the main thing here is number 2 right here, which are CSV extracts, which consist of the essential data necessary to maintain daily operations. And we'll go more detail into this in a second, but we spent some time with our partners, some time with our clients, kind of identifying what are the most essential pieces of information that fabricators would need to run their business. If technology were down for an hour, for a day, for a week, what are the essential pieces of information that a fabricator would need? And from that conversation, we identified these 7 extracts. And the last piece that this consists of is daily dumps of these 7 extracts every day into this Azure Storage Explorer application. So this external application. So what it would be is our process, downloadable data, would run every night, generate and build out these 7 extracts, and then load them into your specific file in Azure Storage Explorer. So yeah, that's kind of the offering there, and we'll dive into that now. So a big question that might come up is like, why do we need to access this information through this separate application? So the big answer there is it's secure. There's generally a trade-off between convenience and security, right? If things are more secure, it's not terribly convenient to access. And for the sake of this offering, we wanted to default to the side of security. So it is a separate application, which kind of takes away from the convenience of it, but it is secure, which is what we wanted to prioritize. Within the Azure Storage Explorer, ActionFlow has complete oversight over the creation, delivery, and storage of the extracts. So we maintain control. We can view that. We can remove. We can add. We can monitor. Our IT team has complete oversight over those functions. If it was external or if it was a separate application, we would have to be going through third parties to manage that. With Azure Storage Explorer, we can manage everything. We also have the ability to issue and restrict access. Like I mentioned, you would tap into this program with a shared access signature. We control that. So we would generate those out. We'd send those to you. Those expire. And then we would generate a new one. So you would have complete control over who's actually tapping into these extracts. The third point there, it requires no additional work or collaboration to implement our solution to the client's environment. There were some suggestions of delivering the extracts directly to the client, or creating custom solutions so the client could tap into our system and extract that data on their side. But by maintaining it through this Azure Storage Explorer, there's no requirement. There's no custom solution. This is a standardized solution that applies to all of our clients. The big piece there is it's an external application, so it removes any dependency on ActionFlow. if ActionFlow were to go down with the case of like the ransomware, Stone Profits was completely out. You couldn't touch Stone Profits. You were completely locked out. If ActionFlow were to go down, this application would still be running. And that's kind of the main benefit there. That last point we've talked on, shared access signatures is how access is issued. And we control that. So the next piece here is the actual content of the data extracts. This is a dense slide, and we'll kind of demo it and go point by point. But yeah, just bear with me here. So after the feedback sessions with our clients and partners, we identified 7 essential data sets. There's job information, so there are 5. So here are the data sets over here. There's job, schedule, payments, line items, inventory, calc tops, and areas. Any of your job information will consist of these 5 extracts here. So there would be a schedule extract, job extract, area, line items, and calc tops. If you wanted information on your payments, you would use the payments extract. If you wanted information on your inventory, you use the inventory extract. Big things to call out here are just the data sets are limited to actions which have occurred or are set to occur a month behind and a month ahead. If technology were to go down, and during our feedback sessions, it was imperative for the fabricators to know, what do I need to do today or tomorrow or the next day? That's kind of what drives everything behind this offering is what are the actions that need to happen today? What are the installs that need to happen today? What are the templates that need to happen today? What's going on in my fabrication shop today? Do I have any inventory coming in? What's my payment activity look like? So we wanted to limit the data set to just the actions that happened a month behind and a month ahead, that are set to occur a month ahead. If technology were to go down, let's be able to see what's happening today. I don't care about what happened 2 years ago. I don't care about job information from 2 years ago. I care about what do I need to do today. And that thought process there kind of drove this offering. Other things to call out, these are all CSV extracts, which I think you should be familiar with. It's a very basic data file. So they're easy to navigate, they're digestible, they're small in size, but there is some manipulation that needs to take place to kind of get those in a readable format. And then what we recommend is the best practice here, like I said, is start with your schedule extract, filter the action start date to something upcoming in the next day or two. And then once you see that job information, those job numbers in your schedule extract, you can kind of trace that job number through each of the other extracts. Real quickly, before we get into the demo, like I said, there are the 7 extracts here for all of your job information. You start with the schedule. So this is just details about past and upcoming schedule actions. Some of the sample questions there is, yeah, I needed what's happening today, what's happening tomorrow, and what's happening the next day. From that schedule, you would identify the job numbers, and you would want to look up the job information for those actions. So then you move that into the job extract. The job extracts includes essential job details for any of the upcoming and past scheduled actions. That job extract includes all of your custom job fields. And then also that job extracts includes accepted jobs that may not have any actions associated to it. If things have been accepted, but there are no actions associated to it yet, those jobs will still persist. Areas, all of the area details, also with like payment information, revenue information, square footage information for your areas are included in that extract. And then all the line items associated with those jobs, and then all the calc tops associated with those jobs. So with those 5 extracts, you should have a comprehensive picture of your job activity from a month before to a month looking ahead. Payment information is any historical payment details, pretty self-explanatory there. And then inventory information is current inventory and upcoming inventory order details. So we can do a quick demo here of this. You're all seeing my screen. So I actually just went in and downloaded. This is for ABC. So these are our test jobs right here. I downloaded the 7 extracts. So this was from February 16th. So this was like nearly a month ago, but the format should be all the same. This would be a similar process that, let's say, technology goes down for ABC for us for a second or for an hour or so. This would be a similar process that I would walk through if I was a fabricator. So I download my file from 216. I'd open up all these files, and I'm just going to click enter here, and it would pull. It's going to pull up all in my other screen here. So I'm going to pull these over. As we recommend, you're going to start with the schedule. So here's your schedule extract. There's a lot of details here. We always recommend, firstly, adding the filter, and this is all documented, and then clicking this little arrow right here and double clicking, and then everything gets fit. All those column links get fit, so you can actually ingest all of the information here. I found a good test job. So then what you would want to do is you would want to look up what's happening today, tomorrow, or the next day. For this example, I'm going to look at January. Let's say we had an outage on January 29th. So I want to see what's happening on January 29th. And here, so I've got, looks like I have 4 associated actions that are supposed to happen on January 29th. And there are 4 associated actions, 4 jobs. This customer here is Jesse for this 3655 job, and we've got a template action. So in this, you can see a template. It's supposed to start then, is confirmed, is scheduled. It's got all of your schedule information that you would need here. And then all the way down here here's your job site address. So from this, you should know that, okay, we've got a template that's supposed to happen from, and we've got a user there as well, templater 277. This is supposed to happen today. Let's take this job number now and dive into the job extract. And this is kind of where you trace it all through. Where is job extract? So same kind of thing. I'm going to start with the filter. I'm going to open it up so I can see everything. And then I want to filter this job number to, I think it was 3655. Boom. So here's our customer. Here's the account. Here's the account type. And this is just the high-level job information that you would want to know. Here are the various address informations. And then this job extracts includes all of your custom fields as well. So anything that you've configured on the action slide or on the action flow side related to your jobs, those fields would all be included here as well, which doesn't look like there's any values for this Jesse Bateman, but that would be in there. The next step would be to dive into the area to see what areas make up this job. Same thing, add the filter, click here, open it up. We're going to go to 3655. All right, so it looks like there's just one area here, ABC Builder plan. Like I said, this extract includes all of your revenue, square footage, retail details. It also has any payments. It looks like there's been one payment to come through, which is $2,000. Includes your fabrication notes, any overrides. So that's within your area details. And I think you kind of see where we're going with that. We can take this and move into line items. Here are all of the line items associated with this job. Expand this out. So this is an absolute blacks 3 cm here. That's the actual material. They've got an undermount. Here's the edge type with all the cost and revenue details in there. And then the last piece for the job would be the calc tops extract. So there are 2 tops associated to this. There are all the different square footage and linear feet details in there. So yeah, so those are the 5 extracts that would be associated to jobs. To dig into your job information, we're hoping that with those 5 things, you would have a pretty comprehensive picture of your daily activities and also your job information there. Again, this isn't meant to replace ActionFlow. This is not meant to, You're not supposed to run your business from these extracts, but if you can salvage out some daily operations while technology is down, that's kind of the goal of these. If you have access to the information, you may be able to still send out this template, still be able to tag an inventory or tag a slab, still be able to go through and know the daily activities of your shop. So those are the 5 extracts for jobs. I show you quick the payments one here. Again, this is sample data. And based on the area, it said there was $2,000 associated. There was a payment of $2,000 for this job. So we should see there's the $2,000 payments that has happened for this job if you want to look that up. And then we also, this is active inventory. So job isn't the essential thing right here, but we still have the job number field right here. So if something has been tagged in inventory, you can see it right there, and it should be that absolute black 3cm slab in inventory that's been tagged to that job. So going back to there, so those are the 7 extracts there. It's dense. There is a lot of information there, but we wanted to kind of be on the side of including too much rather than not enough. And the last big question here is, how do I know my data is going to be up to date? So like I said, the extracts are generally generated automatically every day to ensure you have access most up-to-date information each day. Any of the historical folders there are removed after a week to keep your file system clear and clean. And then the last thing is we kind of recommend every day, every week, going into this Azure Storage Explorer, finding your daily folder, downloading it to your own local system, and then you have access to it whenever. And you don't even need to rely on Azure Storage Explorer. That would be the sake of Wi-Fi goes down. If you can't even access Azure Storage Explorer, but you've downloaded it to your local, you'll still be able to open up these CSVs and run it. So, and then with that, additional considerations here. So there is a little bit of setup that would be required. So if you're interested in this, you would contact your account manager and they'd manage the setup there. You do need to download Azure Storage Explorer. We will provide you with a shared access signature just to you that you'll need to input. So it's not an automatic switch. There's a little bit of setup that's required. I do want to iterate, the point of this offering is to allow our clients off-site and immediate access to their urgent data in case of technology failure. It's not intended to replace ActionFlow. You're not supposed to be able to run your business as well while ActionFlow is down, but you do have access to your information. CSVs, like I said, they're a little bit unwieldy, but there's a lot of information in there. Depending on the size of your shop, some of those extracts could be very large. That was just test information that we were looking at there. So it was much easier to kind of digest and look at. I would really recommend using the filters. Use the action start date, use the job number. Don't try to interpret everything that's going on in those. Use those filters and filter down to just the information that you're looking for. Last part of that is we have documentation on all of this in our knowledge base, which Josiah has just sent in the chat. So yeah, lastly, this is an offering. So we want to ensure the safety of your operations with the downloadable data. This is a additional feature to ActionFlow, which will be another $45 a month to kind of add this on. We want to be transparent in how we got to this cost. So obviously there is an implementation and support cost for us to spin this thing up and then support it. Like I said, those shared access signatures will expire after 6 months or so. So then we'll need to issue new ones out. That's just to kind of keep those more secure. We don't want to issue those things and they're just to be open at for the rest of eternity. We want those to expire and then we'll issue new ones. So there is a support cost associated to it. There's also cost associated to the storage of it. There will be hopefully a lot of clients that sign up, and these extracts can be very large in memory. So we have to store those and support those, and we have to process those every day. So there is a cost associated to this. And then lastly, we interpret this as kind of an insurance policy. If technology goes down, is it worth it, for $45 a month to make sure that you can pull up job information when a customer comes in or something? Is it worth it to be able to call a customer and inform that an install is going to be delayed and have information to their contact information, or even have the awareness that an inventory order is coming in? You could also be able to maybe salvage a template appointment and not postpone it. So with that kind of insurance mindset, we think $45 is appropriate. So if you're looking to sign up, talk to your account manager, and they can get you all set up there. We do have documentation on all of this, like Josiah said, that will kind of walk you through that. And then if you sign up, I would just strongly recommend diving into those extracts and getting comfortable with the extracts, getting comfortable how to navigate them, how to look up your information, how to use the job filters and kind of see what's going on there. And then if you kind of notice something is off, if you're like, there's some disconnect here, just let your account manager know, and we'd be happy to dive into that. Last thing I want to mention on this is if you sign up today, or I think by the end of this week, the charge, there will not be any billing, there will not be any charge until April 1st. So that charge won't happen immediately. The charge will be delayed until April 1st, when that $45 will kick in. So yeah, I think that's about it. Are there any questions on this? Josiah, I think you can field those. Once we do the questions, then we can shift to security.
Yeah, you can put it in the chat or unmute yourself. Either works.
Yeah, I'll just real quickly. Thanks, Jordan. I like the story. There was a gentleman who wanted to understand life insurance, and he asked an expert, and the expert said, well, life insurance is where the insurance company bets that you're going to live a long time, and they'll make more money from what you pay them than what they have to pay you in the benefits. And the man said, well, what happens if I die young? And the expert said, well, in that case, you win. So, yeah, to some degree, if you pay this money and you never use it, you lose to some degree. My point here is we hope we never have to use this. And we've taken lots of steps. I mean, we'd already done some nice steps, but especially since the Stone Profits incident, we've taken lots of steps to try to prevent this from ever being necessary at all. And we hope nobody dies, right? We hope nobody ever has to use this. And that's our primary strategy. And I think Jordan maybe is going to talk about this as well. But, there's just things like Jordan mentioned at the beginning that are outside of our control. And even though, we hope you would never have to use this, and we're working hard that you would never have to use this. And we want to make that clear even while we're making this available. So that's all.
Cool. Well, if there aren't any questions on that, give you another 30 seconds. We can shift to the next piece of this. Okay. It goes 30 seconds. So feel free to leave if you need to go somewhere. But this next piece is, I think since the ransomware attack happened on the industry, there were maybe some concerns and questions about what we're doing on our side to insulate you all, insulate our system against those attacks. We spent several months kind of looking at our system and looking at our infrastructure to make sure we are secure. And so this will kind of just do a high level overview of what we set up. So if you're curious about that, feel free to stick around. Cool. Let's see. So yeah, this section here is in the last section we talked on kind of the multitude of reasons that technology could go down, to the weather, hardware, Wi-Fi issues. This is more so focused on cybersecurity and the steps that we've taken to secure ourselves against that risk. This is not talking about Wi-Fi. This isn't talking about hardware. This is focused specifically on protecting you all, protecting us against the risks out there. So this is, what does a basic infrastructure look like from a security side? We're going to be using this box here for just the rest of our time here. Imagine this box as just the capabilities and the system. You can think of ActionFlow, you can think of anything else. For this example, we'll use ActionFlow. So this box is the impact and the power and the access that somebody might have over a system. So the little blue box there, if you think of that, that's strictly ActionFlow. You have application users right there, or any other application, right? So you have access to do things within an application. You have limited access to do whatever you want in this application. So in this example, this user right here has a key. He gets in through the door, and then he can do whatever he wants inside the application. Then you have a privileged user that has a separate key that goes into the door, and then he has capabilities to impact the application here, but they also have capabilities on the back end. So in this example here, this is a very basic infrastructure. The application user can do whatever they want inside the application. The privileged user can do whatever they want on the back end, and they can also do whatever they want in the application. It's including their access and their rights within that. So this is what a very basic infrastructure looks like. How could this go wrong? So the first thing to call out is just laziness. And I think we're all susceptible to this. So where this could go wrong is just not staying up to date on security trends. If there are attacks happening, if there are new forms of attacks, if there are new security protocols that are out there, and I'm lazy and I don't want to look into that, this could get messed up. The other thing is not doing periodic reviews on your own structure. If you're not taking the time every 6 months, every year to reevaluate what you've built, what your infrastructure looks like, this could get corrupted. You don't know what you don't know. That kind of gets back to just on staying up to date on what's coming through the industry, on what's coming through security, what's coming through on cyber attacks. If you aren't aware of the attack, you can't prepare for it. Convenience. This is kind of just throwing around logins, sharing logins, or global administrator privileges. If I don't want to, it takes more effort to administer application users and privileged users than it does to just administer privileged users to everyone. It would be convenient to just give everyone global administrators, global admin access to everything, but then you're introducing a lot of security risks.
Hey,
the other thing there's
Jordan, just a clarification.
Yep.
Like an application user, the blue box, that there would actually be like an administrator at a client and a registered user. So like would a registered user be a smaller box in the blue box?
Well, yeah, I'm getting there.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, okay. In this very basic one, let's just say there's the application and there's one user type for that, and there's the back end, which has access to the application and then also has access to the back end.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, we'll get there though. Good call out. So that last piece there, yeah, is false optimism. It's just, this is not going to happen to us. That happens to them. We're safe, we're secure, nobody's going to attack us. Those are all some reasons of how this could get messed up. So what does a bad infrastructure look like when it gets messed up? The first thing, and we kind of talked on, I just mentioned this, is a global admin user. One login that gives you permission to everything. So you have two types of users. You have a privileged user, you have an application user, and you have one key that gives you, that unlocks the door to everything. It's convenient, that's lazy, but this is not uncommon. I'm just going to issue out global admin access to everyone that comes through because it's easier. Having no insight to your users or their activity, or like sharing logins, this could happen. So in this situation, you have an application user, they have a key to get into their door, to get into their application. You have a privileged user, their key, their door to get into their back end. But then they're sharing logins. And so you have no idea who actually has a login. Maybe this privileged user is sharing their access everywhere. So now you have these people here, all these red dots here, that now have privileged access, and you have no insight that that's been of their activity. You have no insight that that's been shared. You have no insight about who actually is a user of your application. The other thing here to call it is like if there's suspicious activity. If you can't monitor the activity of these users and there's something suspicious going on, you won't be able to, you won't have awareness of that. So there's risk there. This last one here is you have no safeguards once your infrastructure has been infiltrated. So same kind of setup here, very basic. Let's say someone gets one of these, someone gets an access, or someone gets a login and actually gets into the system. There's no way and there's no safeguards here to actually block that person out. So now they've got capabilities on the back end, they've got capabilities on the application to do whatever they want. So these are just some examples of kind of what could go wrong due to laziness, convenience, false optimisms, or just lack of awareness about what's going on. These are some of those cases. So in kind of response to these items, like I said, we spent several months doing a deep dive and reevaluating our security to kind of avoid these mentioned issues, these mentioned risks. And it's not necessarily sexy work. It's a lot of research, it's a lot of testing, and the benefits aren't outward facing. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing any performance. You're not seeing any features. You're not seeing any bug removals. But it's a necessary thing to make sure that we're setting up these safeguards against these attacks. So we're hoping that going through all that, we feel really good about where we're at now. And this section here about what did we do to solve this? What did we do to set up our security? Will hopefully kind of explain from a high level the infrastructure that we put in place to protect ourselves against these risks. So you've kind of seen it, but I recommend as we kind of go through this next exercise, the best way to think about it is potential impact. So if someone gets in at, and this what we're looking at right now, at the standard user level, what could go wrong? What could they impact? What could they mess up or corrupt? So yeah, just kind of have that in the back of your mind as we go through this. So, and this is actually how ActionFlow is set up here. So if you have questions on that, feel free to speak up. So the first one we have is obviously the standard user. The standard user here, they have a key to get into the door, and this is a little filter icon right here because they don't have that. Once they get in, their access and their capabilities within ActionFlow is already limited. So they only have this little blue box, the capabilities here to do what we kind of define for them. So they have to log in, and then their capabilities are already limited once they get into ActionFlow. The next step here is, and Breeze, I think this is kind of what you're talking about here, is we've got the next level up is the admin user. So same thing, they have their own key to get into the door, and their capabilities are limited. Even once they get in, they have the capabilities that the standard user has, but then they have their own set of capabilities as well. The next step there is the master user. So this is your account. This is your account manager here. So they have a login, they can get in the door. As you can see, they don't have the filter, so they can do whatever you want. They can do all the functions of the standard user. They have all the functionality of the admin user, but they also have this brand new chunk of stuff and access that they can impact. Like processes, I think, is one of those things that these master users can impact. So once again, thinking about it from potential impact, if a standard user is sharing their login with somebody that shouldn't be shared, that standard user can only impact this box right here. The admin user can go in, adjust the filters, cut that person off, boom, they're done. They're out. So that's like a safeguard for what this structure provides. Yeah, so within ActionFlow, just the application there, we're providing 3 different levels of security within that application. So then moving into the next portion is the backend side of things. So this is your IT users. So this is the IT team. So this is me, this is Reese, this is Tyler, this is Grace. We have a higher level of capabilities to get into the backend. This includes all the capabilities here to mess things up on the ActionFlow side, but then it also has this new chunk of capabilities on the Azure side of things. Azure is Microsoft. That's kind of where our application is stored and runs. So from me, speaking for me, my Jordan at ActionFlow user, I have to have a password and a key to get into the first door. And then there is another key, which is multi-factor authentication, to get through the second door. And even if I get through both of those, then my capabilities are limited to what I can do on the back end of Azure. So this is kind of the principle of least privilege, which is something that Microsoft preaches, and it's issuing access based on what your your day-to-day functions are. So what are your day-to-day responsibilities? You should only have access in the backend to do those day-to-day functions. And so we've kind of taken that we've taken that principle and applied it to our security as well. So the next step here is the resources. So, and again, this is getting a little technical here, but in the backend in Azure, there are certain resources that manage aspects of ActionFlow, and we've divvied those resources up into their specific functions. So I'll just bring all these out right here. So there's a storage admin that maintains all of your storage, and that's where your files are stored. There's an application admin, which maintains the mobile app and how things are running and communicating between the API or between the database and the application. Security is managing users and access. The database admin is managing what people can do within the database. And then there's the Power BI admin as well that's issuing access to Power BI. So this is not me, this is not Tyler, this is not Reese, this is a conceptual user above us. That's a resource admin. So they have to have a key to get into the first door. They have the key to get in the second door. Once they use this second key though, everyone in the IT user is notified of that. So if there's some suspicious activity there, we can actually deny that access for these admin users because their capabilities are all the way up here. Once they get in, even their access is limited to what they can do on the back end. So you're like, for example, here, the security admin doesn't have access to the resources of the application admin. The application admin doesn't have capabilities to the resources of the storage admin here. And again, it's a little bit tricky here, but those are conceptual users. Those are logins that are stored online, or those are logins that are stored offsite. We maintain those. The IT team maintains those, but those are offsite. Those aren't shared. Those are locked down. And if we need to get into one of these conceptual admin users, because it requires that, we will go to that location. We will snag those login credentials and use those to log in. And then the last piece here is the global admin. Walking through this, again, a conceptual user here that now includes everything. So this global admin can do everything within ActionFlow. They can mess up a lot of things. But the point of this user here is to not be used ever, basically. We have the login credentials, offsite, lockdown. We hardly ever use this person because it's just not necessary. Most of what we can do is right here with this IT user. That's our day-to-day functions. Sometimes we need to log into the admin. Hardly ever do we ever need to use the global. As you can see here, there's no filter. This global admin can do everything within the back end and then also within ActionFlow. So yeah, we can look at that in a second, but just some additional things that we've taken to enhance the security on the back end. So we store regular backups of the database. Those are offsite. Those are external. I think it would be very difficult for even those to get corrupted because those are regular and those are offsite. We have failover locations. So if a region goes down where our data is stored, it fails over automatically to another location in the United States that should start piping the data back into ActionFlow. We just released this downloadable data offering. We on the IT team, like I showed here, there are 2 doors that we must go through on everything. So that's the multi-factor authentication there. There are periodic password change requirements that have to happen on the IT side. So we're updating those. I'm not sure if it's every month or every 6 months or something like that, but it does require a password change. Notifications throughout the team when an admin logs in. Anytime one of these resource admin logs in, we're getting notified. If there's something suspicious there, we can lock it down. Periodic reviews of our system. So we just, like I said, we spent several months just a few months ago kind of reviewing our system, but we do want to continue to stay up to date. We want to stay aware of what's coming through, aware of the risks, aware of the attacks, aware of any new attacks, and we want to make sure that we're locked down on that. We've got monitoring capabilities through Azure, so we can monitor the user activity. We're issuing out all of those users. We're maintaining all of those users. We have insight to all of those users, and we're monitoring the activity of those users. And then lastly, we use Microsoft. We use Azure, and we do rely on just kind of the inherent robust infrastructure from Azure. So, and then lastly, final considerations here. We have taken all these steps to try to lock us down. We feel really good about where we're at. We think the potential impact on where people could get in is minimal. If they do get in, we can kick them out. But we feel good about the steps we've taken here. With that being said, we can't guarantee that we will not be hacked. But we do want to do all we can to make sure we're addressing those risks and we're addressing those loopholes. The other thing is we do maintain liability and cybersecurity insurance. If you have questions on that, Reese can address those. And then in the case of this ransomware attack that happened a few months ago, if that happens to us, we will not pay the ransom. Generally, you can't, if you pay the ransom, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the data. You're working with criminals. There's no integrity there. And yeah, it's not a good decision to do that. And again, we hope to never be in that situation. We hope to never be in that case. With all these things that we've set up, we feel good about where we're at. But if something terrible has happened, we would not pay that ransom to the criminals there. All of this is in our security statement, which we can make available to you all. That's going to be public, and I think Josiah can share that as well, which would it's just a more detailed document of all these things that we covered today. And so with that, any questions on the security stuff? We'll leave it open for a little bit. I'll go back to this.
Jordan, this is Roderick with Fabricator's Choice.
Yep.
Got 2 questions. The first one comes from a lot of the owners of the databases or senior management. On the front door of the system, there's an option to save the password, and that causes a lot of grief. You have a manager who's top level, and he's at his desk, and he has to leave momentarily, or he has to step out, and he's closed down ActionFlow. However, you don't need a password to get back in. So would there be consideration to either allow that or have a permission in the database that can be set by administrator that would not even permit that level of saving that password? That was my first question. Second one is if a user leaves the company and he has a computer at home and he's logged in at home, since there's no timeout in the system and I unregister him as an administrator, what sort of timeout is there in his home computer? Should he never log out, will he have unfettered access throughout the life of that session?
So I guess the first question there is, I guess it depends. This is kind of getting back to the balance of convenience versus security. So because it's within the application, I think we've gotten feedback that when I'm just logging into the application, I want convenience. I want to be able to, I don't want to have to put my password in again. So that would just kind of doing a blanket solution there about whether you have that option to save a password or not save a password. I think that would just kind of be a bigger conversation about what, what's the greater good there.
Let me just hop in. I'm pretty sure, Roderick, you're referring to the checkbox that says keep me logged in. Is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
And I think it'd probably be just a master setting we could put for any enterprise where the owners could say, don't even show that checkbox. And if a certain client just didn't want to make that convenience available because of it is, there's a trade-off between risk and convenience, but I think we could probably just hide that checkbox if we were instructed to do so for a certain client. So that's probably something we can just add to our feature list to give a client the ability to hide that checkbox. And then what was your second question about? I'm drawing a blank.
The timeout.
An employee named
the timeout.
Tom. Yeah.
We'll double check. I'm pretty sure so yeah, you would have your session logged in, but you're actually hitting our server there. So he's logged in, he's got it up on his computer, but every time he makes a request, he's hitting our server. And I won't double check this, but I think if we kicked him out, if he no longer had permission, then when it would go to hit that server, it would not give him any information. So I'm pretty sure
I know that's to be the case on the mobile app. I know it works there, but I have not been able to prove that it doesn't stop the user from a computer situation.
When you say you haven't been able to prove it, do you have evidence that a person still can do it, or you just don't know one way or another?
Correct. Yeah. So in my conversations, I know the mobile app. I've been talking to the mobile app developer, and I'm aware that it does check to see if the user is still registered each time they touch the keyboard on the mobile app. But I just wanted a confirmation whether that's the same on the desktop app. That's what I was looking for, is to understand how that works on the desktop.
I'm pretty sure that it is, but I'll double check that.
Okay.
So I'll make a couple notes there. Hide.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Service testing.
Jordan, do you see the question in the chat?
Yeah, Alec, I can answer that. So we use AAD Entra on this and that's kind of getting pretty technological there. So Azure, Microsoft, all of these backend capabilities are using Entra, and that's kind of how we're issuing out those rights and responsibilities. For front end users, that's we keep that limited. I think we don't issue Entra users for front end users. The only exception to that is Power BI. So Power BI, in order to get access into the Power BI model, you do need a external user account in our Azure system. So that's how we're kind of managing access to the Power BI side.
Yeah, and let me just add a couple thoughts here. Number one, George, I hadn't seen this. I think that's a great diagram you've got up there and illustrates it very well. And even 6 months ago, we were in pretty good shape. I mean, we were in Azure, and Azure is like, without sounding arrogant or anything, Azure I think is a more secure foundation or platform than what the Stone Prophets people were using. They were, as I understand, they were renting essentially their own servers and having to maintain all that themselves. So we were in pretty good shape 6 months ago. But like 6 months ago, I would, when I send an email out, it says reese@actionflow.net. And so if a hacker, and I was using that to log in to these back-end capabilities. And so, just the first step that a hacker would need, he would know, like, okay, I know the username. Well, he still has to know the password, and he still has to know the like two-factor authentication. But we were giving him one piece of the puzzle. And then, by splitting these things up the way he shows, we made sure, well, number one, I no longer, my Reese at ActionFlow, when I log in, it just has those limited capabilities. And the really powerful ones, we created new ones. And those are not even publicly available. If you wanted to know what our global admin user is, I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you, as they say. Yeah, we don't send emails out with those users, and no one would even know them. So they won't even know the first step. If they did know it, they wouldn't know the password. If they did that, if they tried to log on, there would be multi-factor authentication. So we were in pretty good shape before, but with all these additional steps over the past 6 months, we are feeling even stronger. And then related to this, I'm learning as we go. In this ransomware, the way that primarily works is they do get credentials and logins. They get the key that they're showing. It's not like hacking is sort of like you break a window and go into a house without permission. But the ransomware kind of works more where they somehow finagle your username and password, and that's a little tougher to catch because they do have a valid username and password, so it's not immediately obvious that there's someone malicious inside. So the thing that we've really trying to guard against is just making sure that it's almost impossible that anybody gets a username and password that gives them access to the deep parts of ActionFlow. So we've put many constraints to prevent that from happening. So anyway, we can't guarantee with absolute 100% certainty, but we certainly have made a lot of steps to prevent it from happening.
And like I mentioned, we do have a security statement, a formal one that we'd be happy to share for anyone who asks.
I will plan on sending it out with the recording of this webinar.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's no final questions, I think we can let you all go. Enjoy your Wednesday.